Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn English Podcast.
Morning routine to improve my English. Learn English through podcast. Morning is a special time of the day, and if you use it wisely, it can help you become a better version of yourself and improve your English every single day. So let us learn together how to make a powerful morning routine that will help you learn English step by step in a simple and enjoyable way. Because learning a language is not only about studying grammar or memorizing words. It is about building small, good habits every day that make your brain stronger and your confidence bigger. And the best time to start is right after you wake up. So the first thing you should do is to wake up early. Not too early if that is hard for you, but early enough to have time for yourself before school or work. Because when you wake up early, you have more energy, more focus, and more quiet time to learn. And when you get out of bed, do not grab your phone to scroll on social media. Instead, take a deep breath, stretch your body a little, drink a glass of water, and tell yourself, "Today, I am going to improve my English," because saying this will give you a strong and positive start. And then you can go to the next step, which is making your bed. And you may ask, what does making my bed have to do with English? But it is not about the bed. It is about building discipline and responsibility. And when you do small tasks like that, you are training your mind to focus and finish what you start. And this is exactly what you need when you learn a language. Then, after you make your bed, go to the bathroom, wash your face, brush your teeth, and while you're doing that, try to think in English. For example, you can say in your mind, "I am brushing my teeth. I am washing my face. I feel fresh." Because using English for small daily actions is a very powerful way to make your brain comfortable with the language. Then, when you are done, come back to your room or go to the kitchen and prepare a healthy breakfast. And again, you can think in English, naming the food you are eating like, "I am eating bread. I am drinking milk. I like apples." Because when you connect English with real life, your memory becomes stronger and learning becomes easier. And now that you are awake, clean, and full of energy, it is time to start the real English part of your morning routine. And one of the best ways to learn English in the morning is by listening to a podcast, because podcasts are easy, fun, and you can listen to them while doing other things. And listening in the morning is especially powerful because your brain is fresh and ready to learn. So choose a podcast that is not too difficult for your level, something interesting for young people, maybe about stories, daily life, travel, or motivation. And when you listen, do not worry if you do not understand every single word. Just try to understand the main idea. And little by little, you will start to understand more. And if you want, you can even listen while you eat breakfast or while you walk to school. And while you listen, repeat some sentences out loud. This will help you improve your pronunciation and confidence. For example, if the speaker says, "Good morning, everyone," you can repeat, "Good morning, everyone." And if they say, "Today we will talk about dreams," you can say, "Today we will talk about dreams." And repeating like this is a simple but powerful trick. And after you finish the podcast, spend a few minutes writing down 5 new words or sentences you learned from it, because writing helps your memory, and you can write them in a notebook or on your phone, and try to use them in sentences right away. Like if you learn the word achieve, you can write, "I want to achieve my goals." Or if you learned motivation, you can write, "I need motivation to study." And using new words quickly helps you remember them longer. Then, after that, you can spend a few minutes speaking English to yourself. This may sound strange, but it is very helpful. You can talk about your plans for the day. For example, "Today I will go to school. I will meet my friends. I will do my homework. And if you don't know how to say something, you can look it up later and learn. And speaking, even when you are alone, trains your mouth and brain to think in English automatically, which is one of the most important skills you need. And after that, you can read something small in English, maybe an article, a story, or even the transcript of the podcast you listen to. And while you're reading, try to read out loud because reading out loud helps you improve your pronunciation, rhythm, and speaking confidence. And if you find difficult words, do not stop every time, just underline them and check their meanings later because the goal is to keep reading and understand the general meaning. And now you might think, this sounds like a lot to do in the morning, but you don't have to do everything perfectly from the first day. You can start small, maybe just listening to a podcast for 10 minutes, then adding speaking practice for 5 minutes, and then later writing new words. And over time, you will build a strong morning habit that feels natural and enjoyable. And the key is to be consistent because doing small things every day is much more powerful than studying a lot only once in a while. And another great idea for your morning routine is to review something you learned before, because reviewing helps you remember longer. So maybe you can open your notebook and read the sentences you wrote from the last podcast and try to use them in new sentences. And when you review like this, your brain connects old and new information, and your English becomes stronger. And if you want to make your learning even more fun, you can mix your podcast listening with some music in English. Maybe after the podcast, you can listen to one song, read the lyrics, and try to sing along. Because music helps your memory and makes you more familiar with the sounds and rhythm of English. And finally, before you go out or start your day, take 1 minute to think in English about what you will do today. For example, I will go to school, I will finish my project, I will talk to my teacher. And this small habit will help you think in English naturally. And thinking in English is the final goal because it means you're not just translating in your head, you're using English as part of your daily life. And when you make English part of your morning, it stops being just a subject you study and becomes a real skill you use. And this is how people become fluent, not by memorizing grammar books, but by living the language every day. So remember, the morning is your secret tool, and if you use it wisely with good habits like waking up early, thinking in English, listening to podcasts, speaking to yourself, reading, writing new words, reviewing old ones, and connecting English with real life, you will improve faster than you think. And even on days when you feel lazy or tired, try to do at least one small thing. Maybe just listen to a short podcast or repeat 5 sentences, because even small effort counts and keeps your momentum. And if you keep doing this for weeks and months, one day you will realize that English is no longer difficult or scary. It's just part of who you are, and you will feel proud of how much you improved. And this is the power of a morning routine. It's not about doing everything perfectly, it's about showing up for yourself every day and building strong habits that make learning easy, natural, and enjoyable. Now that you understand the basic steps of a strong morning routine to improve your English, it is time to go deeper and make your habits even more powerful. Because the more details and small actions you add to your routine, the more your brain learns, remembers, and grows. And one of the most important parts of improving your English is building a strong relationship with listening. Because listening is the key that opens the door to speaking, understanding, and thinking in a new language. So, let us focus more on how to use podcasts in your morning to become better and better every day. And the first tip is to choose podcasts that match your level. Not too hard and not too easy. Because if they are too easy, you will not learn new things. And if they are too difficult, you will feel frustrated and stop listening. So try to find ones where you can understand about 70% of what they say, and then challenge yourself little by little with harder ones. And do not worry if you listen to the same episode many times, because repetition is one of the best ways to learn. And when you listen again, you will hear new words and understand more details. And you can try different ways of listening. For example, the first time you listen, just relax and enjoy the story or topic. The second time you listen, more carefully and try to catch new words. And the third time, you can write down some sentences or pause and repeat them. And this technique will help you train your ears and memory. And if your podcast has a transcript, use it as a tool. You can first listen without reading, then listen again while reading, and then read the text aloud without audio. And doing this will connect your listening, reading, and speaking skills together. And another powerful idea is to use shadowing, which means listening to a sentence and then repeating it immediately, trying to match the speaker's pronunciation, tone, and rhythm. And this exercise is excellent for improving speaking fluency and pronunciation. And if you practice shadowing just 5 minutes each morning, your speaking will become much more natural over time. And you do not need to understand every word perfectly to benefit from it. The main goal is to train your mouth and ear to work together. And while listening to podcasts, try to be active, not passive. Do not just let the sound pass through your ears without thinking. Instead, pause and ask yourself questions like, what is the main idea? What is this word? How can I use this sentence? And when you become an active listener, your brain pays more attention and learns faster. And after listening, another important step is to use what you learned. Because listening alone is not enough. You need to produce the language. So after your podcast, try to speak for 1 or 2 minutes about what you heard. You can summarize it in your own words, even if your sentences are simple. The goal is to practice expressing yourself. For example, if the podcast was about healthy habits, you can say, they talked about eating vegetables, sleeping early, and exercising. And this small activity will train your speaking and help you remember the vocabulary. And you can also write a short summary in a notebook, even just 3 or 4 sentences. And later you can read it again to review. And another idea is to teach what you learned to someone else, maybe a friend, a family member, or even just an imaginary audience, because teaching is one of the best ways to learn deeply. And when you explain something in English, you practice speaking, organizing your thoughts, and remembering new words. And the more you use English like this, the faster it becomes a natural part of your life. And now let us talk about another important part of your morning routine, building vocabulary. Because vocabulary is like the building blocks of a language. And without enough words, it is difficult to speak, understand, or express yourself. So every morning, try to learn at least 5 new words. And the best way is to take them from your podcast or from something you read, because words in context are easier to remember. And when you write them down, do not just write the translation. Write an example sentence too, because using a word in a sentence helps your brain remember how to use it correctly. And you can also try to connect the new word with a picture, a memory, or a story, because your brain loves connections. For example, if you learn the word adventure, you can think of a movie you watched or a trip you took. And that connection will make the word stay in your memory longer. And review your words every morning for a few minutes, maybe from the last week or month, because repetition is key to remembering. And a fun trick is to use your new words during your morning routine. For example, if one word is prepare, you can say, I prepare my breakfast. Or if one word is focus, you can say, I focus on my lesson. In this way, you connect vocabulary learning with real actions, and it becomes part of your daily life. And another great thing to do in the morning is practice speaking with yourself in English. Because many learners feel shy or afraid to speak. But when you talk to yourself, there is no pressure. No one is judging you, and you can practice freely. So try to talk for 2 or 3 minutes about anything. What you did yesterday, what you will do today, what you learned from the podcast. And if you do this every morning, your speaking confidence will grow quickly. And if you want to challenge yourself, record your voice and listen to it. You might feel strange at first, but listening to your own voice helps you notice mistakes and improve pronunciation. And over time, you will speak more smoothly and naturally. And remember that mistakes are normal and necessary. Do not be afraid of them, because every mistake is a step forward. And the more you speak, the more you learn. And another useful morning habit is reading aloud, as we mentioned before, because it combines several skills at once: reading, speaking, pronunciation, and rhythm. And if you read for just 5 to 10 minutes every morning, your fluency will improve a lot. And you can read anything you like: podcast transcripts, short stories, dialogues, or even news for kids. And while reading, try to imagine you are speaking to someone. Use emotion, change your voice, and have fun with it. Because the more you enjoy learning, the more your brain remembers. And another good tip is to keep a morning English journal, which is a small notebook where you write a few sentences in English every morning. Maybe about how you feel, what you plan to do, or what you learned from the podcast. And journaling helps you practice writing and thinking in English. And you don't need to write perfectly, just write. And over time, you will see your sentences become longer, clearer, and more natural. And if you don't know how to say something, look it up and learn it. And soon you will have a personal English diary that shows your progress. And all these small habits, listening to podcasts, repeating sentences, shadowing, learning vocabulary, speaking to yourself, reading aloud, and minding a journal may seem small, but together they create a powerful system that trains your brain in many different ways. And when you repeat them every morning, they become automatic, just like brushing your teeth or tying your shoes. And when learning becomes a habit, it stops feeling like hard work and becomes part of your normal life. And this is the secret of successful learners. They don't only study when they feel motivated, they build routines that carry them forward even on days when they feel lazy. And the morning is the perfect time for this because your mind is fresh and ready. So protect your morning from distractions. Try not to check social media, messages, or games before you finish your English routine, because those things can steal your focus. And once your focus is gone, learning becomes harder. But if you give yourself just 30 minutes of focused English practice every morning, you will see big results. And remember to be patient. Language learning is a journey, not a race. And small progress every day is much better than big effort once in a while. And celebrate your small wins. If you learned 5 new words, smile and be proud. If you understood a podcast better than last week, celebrate that. Because every step is progress. And the more positive you feel, the more motivated you become. And motivation will push you forward. And soon you will see that English is not something far away and difficult. It is something you use, enjoy, and improve every morning. And that is how real learners grow. After you understand how to use podcasts, shadowing, reading, writing, and speaking in your morning routine, it is important to think about other small habits that can make your English learning even stronger, because every little action you take builds your brain and improves your skills. So let us start with a simple but powerful habit: reviewing yesterday's learning. Because reviewing helps your brain remember better than learning something new every day without repetition. So each morning, after listening to a podcast or reading, take a few minutes to remember what you learned yesterday, maybe 5 words, 1 sentence, or 1 idea, and try to use them in new sentences. For example, if yesterday you learned practice, you can say, I will practice English today. Or if you learned happy, you can say, I am happy to learn English. And using old words in new ways helps your memory and makes learning fun. And another useful habit is to set small goals every morning, because having a goal gives your brain direction and motivation. For example, today I will learn 5 new words. I will listen to 1 podcast episode, and I will write 3 sentences in my notebook. And when you reach these goals, even small ones, your brain releases happiness chemicals that make you want to continue. And achieving small goals every day builds confidence and makes you proud. And while you're working on these goals, remember to speak out loud, because speaking is the most important skill for communication. And if you only listen and read but do not speak, you will find it hard to express yourself. So even if your sentences are simple, speak as much as you can. Talk about what you will do today, what you learned yesterday, or what you heard in the podcast. And do not worry about mistakes, because mistakes are normal and necessary. And the more you speak, the faster you improve. And another tip for speaking is to imagine you're talking to someone real, maybe a friend or a teacher, or even an imaginary character. And when you imagine a conversation, you train your brain to produce English naturally. And you can even answer questions in English. For example, what will you do today? I will study English and listen to a podcast. And this kind of practice every morning builds fluency. And another excellent habit is to mix learning with movement, because when you move, your blood flows, your brain wakes up, and learning becomes easier. So maybe after breakfast, you can do a short walk, stretch, or light exercise while listening to a podcast. And this combination of physical movement and listening helps you remember better. And after your exercise, you can drink water and refresh yourself, because your body needs energy and hydration to focus. And when you take care of your body, your brain works better. And now let us talk about combining all the skills together, because the morning routine is not only about listening, speaking, reading, or writing separately, it is about connecting them. For example, listen to a podcast, repeat some sentences out loud, speaking, write down new words, writing, read them aloud, reading, and then summarize what you learned in your own words, speaking and writing. And this combination trains your brain in many ways at once. And the more connections your brain makes, the faster you learn. And another helpful idea is to use simple technology tools. For example, a notebook, a recording app, or a dictionary app. But do not spend too much time on them, because the goal is practice, not searching forever. And always remember to focus on one small task at a time. Like, today I will just listen and repeat sentences. Tomorrow I will write new words. And by breaking learning into small steps, it becomes easier and more fun. And another important habit is positivity, because learning English can feel difficult. But if you feel frustrated or negative, your brain learns slower. So each morning, remind yourself, I am improving, I am learning, I can do it. And positive thoughts motivate you, make you confident, and help you enjoy learning. And it is also helpful to reward yourself, maybe a small reward after completing your morning routine, like listening to a favorite song, drinking a favorite drink, or a short break, because rewards make learning more enjoyable and encourage your brain to repeat good habits. And now let us talk about listening habits in more detail, because podcasts are a main tool in this morning routine. And when you listen, try to pick one main idea from each episode and then think how it relates to your life. For example, if the podcast talks about healthy habits, you can say, I will sleep early today, or I will eat breakfast. And linking English to your real life helps your brain remember better. And do not worry if you don't understand everything. Just try to understand the main points. And as your listening improves, you'll catch more details. And another good habit is pronunciation practice, because correct pronunciation makes speaking easier and listening clearer. So after listening to a podcast, repeat difficult words several times. Record yourself if you can and compare with the speaker. And over time, your accent will improve. And this practice only takes a few minutes but has great impact. And now let us add reading, because reading helps vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structure. So every morning, try to read a short story, a news article, or the podcast transcript, and read out loud when possible. And after reading, write down 3 or 4 sentences about what you read. And this writing practice improves memory, grammar, and your ability to express yourself. And even if your sentences are simple, writing every day makes a huge difference over time. And another small but effective habit is thinking in English, which is the final goal. Because when you can think in English, you don't need to translate in your mind, and your brain becomes faster. So during breakfast, while walking, or while doing chores, try to think in English, like, I am eating breakfast, I will go to school, I want to learn English today. And over time, this will become natural. And thinking in English while listening, reading, speaking, and writing makes learning very strong. And remember that all these habits, reviewing, setting goals, speaking, shadowing, listening, reading, writing, thinking in English, and combining them with movement and positivity, when practiced every morning, create a very powerful system. And the key is consistency, because showing up every morning, even for 20-30 minutes, is much more important than doing a long study session once in a week. And small daily actions grow into huge results over time. And another tip is to plan your morning. Write your routine the night before, so when you wake up, you know exactly what to do. And this planning reduces distractions, saves time, and keeps your brain focused. And if you follow the routine for a few weeks, you will see improvement. And even if some mornings are difficult or you're tired, do something small. Maybe listen to one short podcast or repeat a sentence, because small effort keeps your habit alive, and habits are stronger than motivation. And over time, your brain learns to expect English practice every morning, and it becomes natural. And now imagine yourself in 1 month, waking up, following your morning routine, listening to a podcast, speaking, listening, reading, writing, thinking in English. and you will notice your confidence, vocabulary, pronunciation, and understanding have improved a lot. And this feeling of achievement will motivate you to continue. And when you combine all these steps, active listening, shadowing, repeating sentences, writing new words, reading aloud, thinking in English, reviewing, goal setting, positivity, rewards, movement, and consistency, your morning becomes the most powerful time for English learning. And soon you will feel that English isn't hard or scary. It's part of your day. And this is the secret of successful learners. They don't wait for long hours or perfect conditions. They create small, simple, daily routines that build skills naturally. And when you start your day this way, your brain is fresh, your mind is focused, and your English improves faster than you ever thought possible. And the morning becomes your secret weapon, because while everyone else is waking up and checking phones or feeling sleepy, you're learning, speaking, listening, reading, writing, thinking, and growing. And in this way, your morning routine is not just a routine. It's a habit that changes your life. And every day you will feel proud, confident, and motivated to continue because each small action counts. And before you know it, your English is stronger, your brain is sharper, and you have built a habit that will help you for years. And this is how the power of a morning routine works to improve English through podcasts and simple, daily, focused practice. And in conclusion, a strong morning routine is the key to improving your English step by step. By waking up early, listening to podcasts, repeating sentences, learning new words, speaking out loud, reading, writing, and thinking in English every morning, you train your brain and build habits that make learning natural and fun. Even small actions every day add up to big results over time. And consistency, positivity, and practice are more important than doing everything perfectly. Start your morning routine today. Stay patient and enjoy the journey because every morning is a new chance to become a better English speaker and learner.